Hi, Dave. Hi, Irving. Yeah.
Hi, Irving. It's Nadia. I wrote you today, just 15 minutes back. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Dave. I can see you as well.
Hey there.
So
Cool. Nice to meet you guys. Okay, so
how's the day been?
Yeah, I think we can start. So today is it's the final discussion on our first ProductCamp online in Russia and Eastern Europe. So it's our first try to make ProductCamp online. And maybe can you share some your ideas, your experience in ProductCamp? How do you did ProductCamps in Bristol, in the Twin Cities? Yeah, because it's really interesting for our community. Yeah.
So here, I'll jump in. So I'm Dave Mathias. I'm in the Twin Cities, which is northern United States area. And so for ProductCamp, we've been doing it now for many years. We're looking at doing virtual this year.
Cool.
We haven't done the virtual before, but I recently attended and actually was speaking at the ProductCamp RTP, which is in the Research Triangle in North Carolina area. And they've sort of like spread theirs out to a virtual week. So they're doing it over 4 weeks on a couple hour chunks each. I think the hardest thing for ProductCamp is how do you create the in-person engagement and those in-person connections that you would normally make in ProductCamp. And so I think that's the biggest challenges people are trying to do. And so some ways to do that, like we've done with different events, is like even letting people, like introducing people, sort of like forced introductions, where like before the event, you send out like, hey, these 10 people are coming to the event. You should try to connect in with them virtually beforehand, and like creating a Slack group and things like that. Those are some different ways that have gone well in different events, whether it's ProductCamp or whether it's other events. So I think it's interesting, the experiments that we're doing now virtually, but allows people to come all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah, interesting experience. Yeah.
So my name's Irving.
What about you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm based in Bristol in the UK. We just ran our second ProductCamp this year. So last year it was obviously in person, and this year we did it in February, so just before all the lockdown stuff started. So we kind of got that in. We also did it with 2 other cities, so we're trying to make it a little bit bigger. I think the key thing for ProductCamp for us has really been the networking and the kind of having people kind of share those experiences. So we also run the product tanks meetups. So part of that, what we've been doing is this lean coffee style format. So we'll do our last one. We had Marty Kagan speak for the first hour. And then the second hour of the meetup was we broke up into 2 different groups. So we used Zoom and used the breakout room feature, which is quite good for this. And then in a Word document, we got people to post topics so that they wanted to discuss in the group. So you have about 15 people and they fill out the Google Doc and then people vote on it. So we have a dot voting system, and then you can have a conversation about those things, right? So it's very kind of ProductCamp kind of vibe, and you do build that engagement. So we did our first online event meetup. It was more talks and presentations, and it's very difficult as a presenter as well when you don't see anyone. You're also as the audience, it's not very interactive. So
yeah, you need some feedback and so on. You need to get some feelings.
And a lot of it's like networking, right? For whatever career advice or just what problems are you dealing with as a product manager, right? And those little things, that's why people go to meetups, right? Is to get that kind of those key nuggets of information that you don't get from a talk. And I think online is finding different ways to facilitate that is so important.
Yeah, interesting. Yes. So today is our first online format, and before that, we made, I think, 20 product camp in Russia and Eastern Europe. So I think our first product camp was in 10 years ago in Moscow. So and that time in Russia, no one knows about product management, and it was really funny. So we find some guys who just started in product management and start our offline meetups. And yeah, and today we catch a lot of audience. So I think on today product camp was near 5,000 of registrations. So it's really cool for us.
Nice. So what do you think went best today?
Today, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just wondering what that's a lot of people. So how do you keep engagement with that many people? What did you guys do to?
Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard to make engagement for such big audience. So that's why we tried to divide our audience on some parts. So like large audience near for I think 2 or maybe 4,000 of people, they see our YouTube streaming. So we will have free flow in parallel, and these guys can communicate in YouTube videos. And also we have like a big Telegram channel and Telegram chat, and everyone can ask questions to our speakers and discuss some things. And it's like a first basic mechanics. And the next one was about some format like random coffee, when you want to meet some person. And we use Telegram bot for this kind to create random coffee. So you can send information about yourself to random bot, and between some presentations, random bot made some. So random bot help you to find some interesting persons, and it's a really nice mechanics for us. And also, I will share screening, and we'll try some interesting mechanics for. It's really like real conference rooms. I will share it. Its name is Special Chat. So it's look like this. So it's working really interesting. So you can imagine it's like a big conference hall, and when you drop here, it catch your voice and it catch your video, and you can move yourself between different groups of people. And when you near these people, you can hear what they said. And when you are not near these guys, you cannot hear them, like in real life. And it's really interesting.
That is cool.
That is really cool.
It's really cool. So it's so amazing. So it's like in real conference, you can go to like smoking room, you can go to coffee bar, you can go to bar, you can go to some conference hall. And what's also interesting on this platform, you can add some images and you can add some, for example, videos. So we can add in this room like some video about product management or some live streaming from one of our flows of presentations. And if you near this video, you can hear it and you can discuss with all of guys who also watching this. Yeah, and it's really funny thing.
Cool.
So did that work really? Did that work well for you?
Yeah, it's work well when you have like near 100 of persons on one board. And if you have like 1,000, it's not possible right now to make a good conversation, because it will be absolutely crazy. So that's why we will divide all our registrations for two groups. So the one group is about YouTube viewers, and guys can communicate in YouTube live and in Telegram chat. And as a group, they can participate with better options. So, for example, we made all our presentations via Zoom. So you can participate in Zoom discussion. So you can ask like by voice your questions to speaker and so on. So and after that, between presentations, you can go to special chat to communicate with other guys. Yeah. And I think so. Like half hour before, we sent our poll to get some feedback from our participants of Product Camp. So I think today evening we can see which mechanics work well for our participants and so on. Yeah. And we have some small presentation. I can share it, and because our participants want us to discuss some questions about Product Camp with you. So I will share this deck. Yeah, it's like a main slide. The first question is about approach of organizing Product Camps in your country. So maybe, yeah, you can share some best practices, and we have discussed some of them. Maybe you can remember some interesting tricks or things for better networking, for better communication, for better engagement of our Product Camp audience. Maybe on online, maybe on offline events. Because I hope in a half of a year we can do offline meetups.
Yeah, and so a couple of things that so in where I'm at, we have a big mixture of like physical products and digital products, service products. So we have a lot of different. So one of the things we've really focused on is like, how do we create a product camp that's engaging for all product people, not just like some product camps you go to in the United States are very like, I've gone to like Portland or Vancouver and great product camps, but they're very heavy digital type product camps. And so how do you create a product camp that gets enough people presenting topics and that get people from different organizations, and also people that are feel welcome even if you're more junior in the field, but you're going to be bringing a different perspective. And so how do you get more people that are, so one of the things that we did this year is we approached some of the universities to get more students, and actually get students like suggesting topics, and getting also obviously a lot of students, more students coming, or people right out of school. So those are a couple of things that we did, and we just had to make a lot more conscious efforts to get people to submit topics that would interest people, that fits more of a broad cross set, and then also, you know, just really like spending a lot of the marketing efforts to go like, okay, we're really strong here in this area or that area, and how do we get the other folks that want to come to our product camp?
Cool. Yeah. Irving, what about you?
Sorry. Yeah. So for us, I think the venue, I think, is the biggest thing that we focused on, and picking something that will facilitate that networking is really important. So having the right amount of breakout rooms that are all kind of together was really important for us. So both years that we've run it, the first year we did in a hotel, but it was like one big hallway with rooms, right? So everyone after each session would go right to the middle, right? So you're always around people. You can always find people to talk to. You're not walking around everywhere. So for us, that was quite important. And running it again this year, we did the same. We got lucky that an energy company here had just the perfect venue for it, basically, in their offices. So we're going to continue to do that. And also, I think something that's been really helpful for us is running a retro at the end of the day. So trying to wrangle people before they run off home and make sure that they sit and actually do the retro. has been really helpful. So every year, you know, even if little things like provide more fruit, or you know, the air conditioning isn't good, or things like that, right? You learn stuff as you're organizing each event. And for us, we've only done it for 2 years. We run our product tank meetups. Those are quite nice, and we've been doing that for 4 years now. But it's kind of a different scale running a product camp than a product tank event. You know, one's one like a couple of speakers, and that's not a problem. I think also keeping the sourcing the quality as well. Like, you know, I think it's important to have, Dave, you mentioned the mixture of, you know, new people to product, but also having people that are, you know, CPO level there as well, right? And making sure that there's enough people in each kind of stage to actually for them to learn off each other, but then also teach and pass on knowledge, right? So I think making sure that you selectively try and invite certain people that you know are going to really be strong contributors. We found that really helpful, and kind of bringing people in from London as well. So it's quite nice that we're not that far away from London, but so we can get people all around the country really to try and come in that we think are going to bring quality conversations to the table.
Cool, interestingly. And Dave, you said about that you're working with the university guys, and I also remember that last year we started to work with high school persons, and it was really interesting. So it's we invite some high school students to our product camp, and we will we made like product camp for young persons, and it was really nice. So it's it was guys like 17, 15, something like this.
14, 14, 13.
14, okay, Nadia, yeah.
Already had like MVP projects with blockchain technologies.
It was really cool. So like guys like 10 years old or something like this, they shown to us some their own products. Yeah, and it was really crazy for us, and it's really cool to share some ideas with these persons and invite them and work with them. So I think, yeah.
So I got to ask, tell me more about like how to keep them engaged throughout the day. What did you do, more like workshop-y interactive, or was it like what worked for that younger group?
Mm-hmm. For younger group, we have like 2 or 3 kinds of activities. So the first one, it was about like short lectures. It's like 15 minutes lecture. Yeah, and some questions for these young persons. The second one was about like short workshops, so they can make some MVP product or something like this. So like working in a group. Yeah, and I think it was main activities. And the third one was about like free discussion. So because they know some speakers, and we said, okay, guys, so right now it's a free time, and yeah, we have free time, and you can ask everything from our speakers and discuss everything. So yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's check other slides of our deck. So some organization hacks when you start planning the event. What is the most important aspect to pay attention to? In Russia and Eastern Europe, product camps, usually we started like 6 months before the product camp, something like this. Yep, and I think it's 2 main points. So the first point, it's like 6 months before, because we need to understand about our location, about some maybe sponsors for our product camp, and it's like main points to organize product camp. And the second one, it's like 1 or 2 months before product camp. We really need to understand the schedule of the product camp, to make some polls for the decks, for the terms of our participants, and to understand, yeah, that we invite the right persons, the right speakers, and to challenge ourselves how we can invite more interesting speakers on our Product Camp. Something like this. And what about a schedule of your organization of Product Camp, or maybe some organizational hacks how to make it better?
So I'll start off, and I'll sort of yes and what Irving was saying earlier. Certainly, like having a venue that really is conducive to that interaction is so important. Like we've been moving venues every 2 to 3 years is about the frequency. So we want to change it up so that people, it's not like the same venue for 5 years in a row or something like that, because we want to have some change at the same time. So the years that we have to get a new venue, that we're going to like switch to a new venue, we start earlier, because that is usually from a like a timeout perspective. It tends to be the thing just to make sure you have it, so you can like establish a date and like go to sponsors and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first part is if it's a year that it's about 6 to 7 months out, we do that if we have to change a venue. If we aren't changing the venue, then honestly, we probably don't start things till about 3 months out, because that's usually enough with sponsors and other things, because they've been with us enough years that they know, like, hey, we generally do it within a 30-day range, and we just, get a date on the calendar about 3 months out on those off years. But I think the venue, like Irving was saying, is so important. Like, how do you have it so it's kind of packed, but not too packed? Because I think like you go to some events where it's almost like a conference center, like a massive thing, and like everybody's sort of spread out, and they're like spending so much time going between things. Those are like, you don't get much conduciveness, and even like happy hour and those types of things. The other thing that we've spent a fair amount of time, and luckily I have somebody that's just fantastic about this, is like getting really good food at like different ethnic foods that we bring in that are just like people like just love that. And every year we do very different things. So I have a friend of mine that she is just awesome at finding like a very reasonable cost food that people, makes it much better, especially for a free event, right? People don't expect much, but then you're over delivering for them. So that's something spending time on.
Yeah, I think we got that wrong the first year. We didn't have the best lunch, I guess. And then this year we definitely got it right. We had a huge assortment of like massive salad bars, different kinds of food for everyone. We had gluten-free options, vegan options, vegetarian options. We catered for everyone, so it was good this year from that point of view. But in terms of planning, I think apart from the venue stuff, is the sponsorship, I think, would be for us, because we're still quite new. Luckily, we have the product tank meetup, so and I'm quite fortunate that I work with Lily, who runs the Mind the Product podcast. So she's got quite a big network from that. So going to different organizations and stuff early, I think, is quite important. So that kind of helps you understand what you can and can't do. So this year we were kind of panicked because we weren't getting the sponsorship that we needed. But then we ended up getting a venue for free because we did it at an energy company, which was quite nice. And this year we started a bit earlier because so last year was just Bristol based, and this year we partnered with two other cities. So the plan next year is to basically rotate from city to city, right? So when it's in Bristol, we'll do it in the energy venue, and then in the other two, we're going to have to start early next year to try and figure out where we can have a venue, right? Because we've never done it in those cities. And then there's also just kind of the logistics of organizing it in the new place as well, right? Is how do you get people there, make sure people find it, and all these things, right? So just making sure you coordinate all of that. I think Product Camps for us it's been quite easy to, there's no like, we don't plan an agenda, right? We just kind of show up. I think the icebreaker for us is getting that done, and then planning on kind of the venue and the sponsorship. Once you get those three things and make sure everyone's kind of mingling and create that environment that Dave was on about, I think that's the most important thing.
Cool, nice. And usually, how many days your Product Camps? Is it 1 day or it's 2 days?
We just go one day and try to do like 10 till like 5 or 4:30, something like that. And we try and cap it at like 150 people, just to, again, facilitate the communication and not over like populate it with too many people, and then it's kind of scary. And then it's like finding people, and so try and keep the numbers low.
Yeah, we've done one day, and we've always done the Saturdays. I mean, most product camps seem to be Saturdays, but it's interesting. So in the place where I live, we're about like 4 million, the city is in our area, but we have a lot of big companies. So so you get certain people that will go on weekends and certain people that like to go to things during the week. They don't want to spend their weekend at a product camp. So we've talked about doing like at least a half day one on like a weekday to experiment, but we've talked about it for several years and we just never have done it yet. So I don't know if, and there's been a couple I've seen in the United States where they've done some experimentation on like an off day, but not much in general. It's been like the sort of the Saturday approach.
Yeah, so we usually also do on Saturdays, but usually we make product camp like twice or 3 times per year, and usually at autumn or at the end of summer we do like 2 days product camp, and it's really interesting. It's absolutely other feelings about 2 days product camps, and because 1 day product camp we usually make in some big city like Moscow as a capital, Russia, or St. Petersburg like second capital, something like this, or like Minsk as a capital of Belarus. And like 4 years or 5 years ago, we have tried to make like 2 days, like Saturday and Sunday product camp, and it was and what we changed. We go out of the city, so we go to like small houses, something like this, nature alone, and we are really only with each other, like no one else, like 100 of product managers guys, and after Saturday you can't go anywhere, so you can say, bye guys, I will go to my home because you're out of a city. So it's really interesting. And so usually Saturday it's like from 11 to 18, and after that we usually starts like after party, like free time, like communication, and it's a really brilliant time to make best networking, because you heard a lot of interesting information, and right now it's a time to communicate with people because they can go anywhere. So it's really cool, and I think everyone go to sleep, I think like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. So it's in late midnight, because it's really interesting, because you're going from house to house and you communicate, you're talking, you're going to some swimming pool, you're going, and it's really cool. And on the second day, so I think the evening the most brilliant part of the 2 seconds. And what really also interesting, so like on Saturday we have some speeches from 11 to 18 p.m. Then we have some free time, and then at the evening, like in Russia time, it's like 21 p.m., like 9 p.m. We can match our time zone with US. And with US and with USA, and guys, for example, from California can participate via Zoom. So we made like a big projector, and we saw guys from San Francisco and other guys, and it's really interesting. So it's like, yeah, we have speakers from different time zone, and it's really funny.
Cool.
It's great. It's a long day.
Yeah, it's a really long day. So that's why Sunday we usually start at 12 or something like this.
Right.
Because you absolutely need some time to sleep.
Yeah, definitely.
After this crazy night and crazy day. Okay, let's check other slides in our days. Can you say something about your organization team? How many people are involved, and how do you delegate some tasks? Because in our experience, usually, I think last product camp on this, I think it will be like how many, Nadia? I think near 100 of volunteer guys.
More actually more, because I don't know. I think it's almost all our set of participants are included in this organizing process, like around maybe 200, not 200, maybe 150.
Yeah. So it usually really interesting. Our last offline product camp, we have like 200 of participants. And I think 80% of these participants, or maybe 70, will be like volunteer guys. So they help us with schedule, they help us with a lot of organization moments and so on. Yeah.
That's quite a cool approach. That it's kind of like crowdsourcing the event, which is quite nice. For us, our team is like the first year we did it was basically 2 people. Officially, it's our product tank is meant to be the guys that run the product tank, which is 4 of us, but 2 of us ended up doing most of the work. And then this year, because we had those other cities, again, it was more like 10 people, but we ended up, again, 2 people did most of the work. And then the first year we did get some volunteers as well, for more so for on the day, because we had more people this year. We didn't need to do that, but it's more, coordinating on the actual day, which is kind of the important thing. So 2 people can kind of do all the logistics and get everything sorted and sponsorship and that sort of thing. But on the actual day to I'm usually running around making sure the food's ready, or people are where they need to be, right? And they're kind of like, if anyone has any questions, that's kind of what I'm responsible for. But then you want to have people kind of facilitating or making sure things are running smoothly, right, as well. So I think on the day is more important to have volunteers and things like that. We found.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like during the day you have a lot more volunteers. We have probably like anywhere between like 8 to 10 people on the main organizing team on any given year. But then certainly that doesn't, like, tons of people are giving their time, whether it's day of stuff or like a couple days before, or obviously all the speakers, like all that kind of stuff. But 8 to 10 people on and we use like Trello, which is, I don't know if anyone uses Trello, but we use like Trello just to like, we try to like keep it as low effort for everybody so that it's fun, and it's just like, hey, how can we make this? And like, we just have people that we say, hey, like, you're in charge of like volunteers, and you're in charge of trying to recruit speakers, and you're in charge of this. And like, the challenge, of course, like we've done it before where we've had too many people involved, and then there was like 3 people doing the same thing, and like everyone was sort of like not feeling like responsible for it. So we try to put somebody as like, hey, this is your thing, like you own this, like if you need help, we're here to help. And we use Trello to make sure that things aren't like dropping off. We can all see what's happening and where things are moving along. But at the same time, we want to just like get good people empowered to do that stuff, and like, hey, raise your hand if you need help. But we want to make this so that it's not, we are all busy with our day jobs and everything else, and we want it to be fun.
Yeah, I think for us, like the one thing I will delegate is the sponsorship, because that takes the longest time, I think, and lots of like kind of selling skills, which it just eats up so much of your time if you do that. The other stuff is, quite easy, really. Sending a couple of emails, getting stuff printed, all that sort of stuff is quite simple. But actually trying to persuade a company to give you money is quite, it's a bit trickier. Yes, exactly. So that's the one thing I delegate to other people and say, you guys can, you don't need to do a whole lot, but just go and do that. Come back with some money. So
yeah, it's really important part. Yeah. Yeah. I think we have the similar system. So we usually have like a core team of organization, and it's near 10 persons, like 10 person in a group, and other guys like volunteers, they help us. Yeah. And core team, like it not changed between our product camps and volunteers group. They of course can change, yeah, from camp to camp.
Well, that's a good question. So, and that's one thing where we were getting probably comfortable after a while because we had done it for so many years with our core team. And then I sort of was like, well, like we need to like bring in like we're aging ourselves a little bit, like we all get a year older, and how do you make sure you're staying relevant to the community? And so bringing in fresh perspectives, and like how do you just like challenge an organization? So the last year we actually consciously brought in more people to say, hey, we need some new organizers, like so that's one thing we're in the process of sort of trying to, not that we don't appreciate the people that are organizing and have been for a long time, but how do you bring in new bodies? Because and so that it'll get better.
It's an interesting and important question. Especially it's important for me. So like 10 years ago, it was only like 2 organizers of Product Camp, me and my partner. So it was really crazy hard to organize all of the things. And like year to year, we usually ask in our Facebook group, in our Telegram channel, guys who want to help us, who want to be organizer, and so on. And usually, like maybe 100 person said, "Okay, I can help you," but then you send them some information and so on, and it's not 100, it's only like 30 people, and then you're trying to work with them, and after 1 month of organization, it's only 10 people and something like this. And after that, you can find like 1 or 2 persons that's really energetic, that really want to make something different, something really new for them. And it's some kind of new blood for our Product Camp organization team. And it also was some big challenge for me to make some decentralization of organizing of Product Camp, because if only me can make everything, it's really hard, and it's really strange for community. Because so that's why like last 3 years we have like some small board of Product Camp organizers, and the guys can do like everything without myself if they need it. Okay.
So here's a question for you, actually, on what you're doing, because you're covering a big area. Like Russia and Eastern Europe is a massive, obviously, like location wise, and like for me, we're like Product Camp Twin Cities, so we're like a metro area. How do you normally have a virtual component? Has that always been the case, or is this like the first time you've done, like, do you just move it around, or how do you keep that broad territory engaged?
I understand. So it's our first time in online. So before that, we made product camps in different cities. So like Russia is a big country, so that's why we made in Europe part of Russia, like once or 2 times per year. Like in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, it's like a capital, and we have some product camps in our like a western part near China, something like this. So there are another team of organizers. It's like we have like one big team, but they really focused on other cities like Yekaterinburg or Novosibirsk, and we usually help for these guys to make product camp to save our culture of Product Camp and so on. Yeah. So yeah, that's why we usually make Product Camp in like 5 cities, something like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually it was like Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, something like this. Yeah. Okay. The next question from our participants was about community. So who is the participants of your Product Camps? So yeah, it's really interesting because in our community, in our Product Camps, it's changed time to time, and really interesting about your experience. So we like historically we have started from the like middle management. So usually it's like middle management, and we usually have like 500 of guys who want to participate, and usually we choose only like 100 or 200 that we invite on our Product Camp, and usually it's like like middle management, and last 3 years it's like senior and top level, like C-level guys, like CEO and co also.
Yeah, that's definitely different. I'm not sure. I'd be curious also to hear Irving on this. So for us, we don't have like, there are certainly like product leaders that you'll get, like product team leaders, things like that. But I've been to a fair amount of product camps in the United States, and I obviously know our current one. In fact, my most recent travel was to St. Louis, which is a pretty big product camp in the United States too. But it tends to be, like you say, more that mid-level product person. It tends to be somebody that's like 5 to 15 years into their career is what it feels like for most product camps. Certainly, as years have gone on with going to product camps, I do feel like the profession as a whole, because it used to be like people would go into product management, they'd use that as sort of a stepping ground to some other thing that they're going into. But now, since people are staying in it as a entire career and looking at it as a better career type progression, like, you know, keeping it up, then I do feel that it's maybe a little bit broader range. But I think that 5 to 15 year range is fairly typical on product. And that's whether I've gone on like West Coast or East Coast or different product camps in the United States. Not so many like chief product officers or those types of folks. Unless it's like startup companies, they'll have people that fall into that, but not otherwise. And yeah, I'm curious. How about you, Irving?
Yeah, I think because the UK is really small compared to Russia and then, you know, and the US, right? We were able to benefit from that, right? So there's only 2 product camps that get run in the UK, ours and the London one. So we tried to stagger those. The people that run both of them are all run product tanks, and they're all part of Mind the Product. So we all know each other really well, so we invite each other's communities to both events. And then for us, so because of that, I think you start to see a mix of people. So this year we had a graduate present, like someone who was part of a graduate program in a company do a presentation or a workshop. I think they ran, I can't remember. So you have people that are, you know, maybe a couple of months or a year into the job. You have people that you know, been doing it for a couple of years. You've got people like myself who like senior product people, or then you also have the product leaders, VPs products, directors, heads of product, and then we do get a fair few CPO level people as well. The size of companies also varies. So in London, obviously, you're going to get more variety because it's London, right? But you know, there's bigger companies there. You get, I think, a lot of startups, especially in the London scene. So you do get a lot of that. Where we are is also startup-y. But then, you know, I work for the enterprise companies, so you do get some people like that as well. From We also get lots of UX designers, so we're not strict on you need to be product. If a developer wants to come along, then by all means, like I think it's really important that they come in and understand what we do. Likewise, you know, we should be going to some of their events that we can, you know, benefit from. And same with UX, right? There's always a handful of UX people, and they run really, really good workshops as well. So things on story mapping or, you know, different workshop facilitation, so that they'll do a session, and people really like those, because as product people, we want to always get better at that, right? And we always think that we need to work with UX, and how can we not always have the benefit of having some UX person there. So if we can learn from them at these kind of events, is really helpful.
Cool. Yeah, and that's a great point, because I think one of the things that we tried to reach out, use a lot of those groups that are in town, where we have like UXPA, which is like a UX group, or like a CXPA, we're on customer experience, or like service design, or even like marketing groups. Like we have like an AMA, which is like an American Marketing Association. So like thinking of like other areas where people they could be product marketing, they could be like product designers or things like that. We're trying to like spread, like trying to be a community that's inclusive for everyone to come to, while there's still very much a focus on, you know, obviously the core group is product owners, product managers, leaders in that area. So it's, you know, how do you create an environment that's still appealing to the product managers, product owners, but also obviously like it's teams that get stuff done. So how do you help create a forum for that? So we've leveraging a lot of, partnering with a lot of those sister organizations has helped.
Yeah. Interestingly, because usually we invite like middle product managers, because we usually have some limitations. Yeah, because on conference you cannot invite, on offline conference you cannot invite like 1,000 of persons. Yeah, because you don't have so much money to invite all of them. So that's why in each city we should understand our limitations, and like in a big city, like in a Moscow capital, we have a lot of registrations. So that's why usually we only can invite like middle level and maybe senior guys. But in other cities like Novosibirsk, which is smaller city, we can invite also UX designers and some developers, because it's I feel it's really important for example, for developers guys to understand product culture and so on. Yeah, and what is interesting, like, so today on our online format, we can invite a lot of new participants. A lot of junior product managers who want to participate. We can invite like developers and UX designers, and they also can commit to our product camp with some the special ideas and so on. And I think it's some kind of benefit of online format of communication. And also I think maybe like at the end of this year, at autumn, when we will make our next product camp, maybe we will make it in some kind of mixed format. So we will invite like 100, one or 200 persons in our offline, and we make a lot of efforts. We will push a lot of our energy to invite a lot of guys to our online format, and make it really useful for these guys to not only to see some content, but also to participate, also to make some commitment on our program. And I think it will be really interesting challenge for our team.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. I think one of the benefits of you know, all the events going online is just the reach. I know just my personal feeling on it is it's been really nice to just you know, you can go on YouTube and see talks being streamed, right, live from, you know, anywhere in the world now, and which is really cool. Before you know, we did our talk with Marty Kagan, and you know, everyone got to see it, versus if we did it in a room, that room has capacity, right? And that would have sold out like like crazy, right? And so by having it online, right, anyone could watch it, anyone could ask him questions. It was one of the benefits, I think, of doing more online things, and I personally really like it. Obviously it has its challenges, like we were discussing at the start, but you know, that mixed approach might be something for certain key highlights. It might be a good opportunity to cross over and do some mixed things.
Yeah, and also you can, if you make some online activities, you also can invite some speakers from other countries, from other cities, and it's really interesting. So that's why, on the next product camp, so we usually participate, some guys from San Francisco to our like 2 days product camps, and on the next, I think maybe we'll invite some guys from Asia, because it's also really interesting products. So like a year ago, I was on some product conference in Indonesia. It was Tech in Asia conference. It's really interesting. So it's really nice products and a cool experience of these guys, because it's a really big audience.
I personally started watching. I think there was a product tank in Singapore, which is quite interesting. And just being able to, like, you know, lots of things come from, you know, San Francisco, the US, and, you know, you start to think about certain things just in that way. You know, Europe approach to building product is slightly different. And then, you know, just expanding your knowledge of how people approach building products in different parts of the world is really interesting, especially if you're building global products. You know, obviously, certain markets are, you know, we're very Europe and US in the markets that we serve, but we also have customers all over the world. And it's, you know, you need to kind of learn from people in those countries that are doing it, right, if you're going to build a real global product. So it's quite interesting to be exposed to that kind of thinking as well, right?
One thing that might be interesting too is, like, you know, maybe a few different product camps around the world get together and sort of with that theme of trying to hit different continents, right, and different philosophies, you know, maybe partner together to try to do a across the globe sort of product camp event, with speakers in each of the areas that could bring the different cultural dynamics and different methodologies to bear.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Is he frozen?
It looks like he has in the kind of funny.
And it's funny because always the freeze pose is never, like, no matter what pose, freeze is never the best pose.
No.
Yeah, and I can't share my screen because Mike's.
He's gone now.
Okay, let's check it out. What questions we have else? Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And the buzzwords, what does the product community talk about in your country? What are the trends? Oh, it's a good question.
That's a tough question. From ours, I think the big buzzword, I think, at the moment is like empowered product teams. No one's doing it properly. You know, very few people, I should say, are doing it properly. What does that really mean? What does that look like in practice? And you know, everyone's trying to strive for this, you know, empowered, perfect working model that is of, you know, good working product team. But the realities in organizations is not that easy to do, especially if you've gone from, you know, a kind of traditional, almost like not waterfall, but, you know, almost project managing approach to building products, to then trying to empower teams and work in that kind of new way of working. And I think a lot of the conversations are around that. And the other one is data. I think that never gets old. Everyone always likes a good talk on data. Any presentation on data, it goes over well. I think it confuses people more than when they started, because everyone does it differently, and everyone is kind of one of those things you just have to learn by doing versus kind of being taught. But yeah, I think those are the two things that really come up again and again that people are always talking about.
The same thing around the world.
Well, and so the other thing that I think you're exactly right. I totally agree with what you're saying, Irving. Those two are popular. The other thing that comes up a fair amount too is this, how do you, from a customer experience and looking at holistic experiences for customers and like that personalization component of products, that's the other thing that sort of is talked about a lot, and everyone has this myth of what this personalized experience, this like really great customer type of experience is, and some it's to maybe what some people would say is very creepy, and some people would say what's really compelling for individuals. So I think there is this mixture of how do you, not just from a UX perspective of thinking of personalization, but an overall like holistic personalization of your offerings to your customer. So that's oftentimes sort of still sought, but never gotten, it feels like.
Okay, and if I take, for example, like 5 different continents, and there is any at least one difference between talks product have or not, like all the same?
I hear more of certain talks in different areas, but I hear like generally, like I was in like a year and a half ago, I was in South Africa, or I was in Peru last fall. Like these discussions are in Europe last year. Like no matter where you're at, you hear the same discussions happening on. I think there's maybe depending on like if you're a more of a startup-y community, you have certain types of talks that come up more versus communities where it's a lot of like big established companies. Then it becomes a lot around like hierarchies of organizations and like frustrating of like the internal dynamics of product within those bigger organizations. Like, but I actually think there's many more similarities than differences. I mean, I think there's maybe expectations that are different in different areas of the world. That's probably the biggest thing of like, but that's, what are your thoughts, Irving?
There is one difference between all the continents, not all the continents. I mean, type of work between US and Russia. I think there are a lot of differences between, expectation from work and I don't know. I mean, when products ask us about how to become a product manager or how to get in a company, it's totally different, like from
Asia. The product is like in some areas, even in the United States, right? It's like it's a job that right out of college you can get into product management. That's very normal, and but like for many areas, many companies, it's very much a not the first job out of college. It's like, okay, you're a mechanical engineer first, and you've been doing that, and then eventually after you get farther along, then you're like can start with like an associate product manager and then a product manager. So I think it's somewhat industry dependent, somewhat location dependent, somewhat like those certain from a career track. And even like the idea of a chief product officer is still, like most companies in the area where I'm at don't have chief product officers, right? Like, that's a very atypical position. So whether that should be or not, that's a whole other thing, but it just is atypical versus some areas I've been in, that seems like that's a very typical type position.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's also the kind of maturity level of organizations as well in terms of understanding product and the meaning and kind of impact that product can actually bring if they value it enough. So, we used to, at our company, we didn't used to have a CPO and we struggled, and the product team struggled because they didn't have that kind of someone to battle at the executive level for investment funding, being able to give the product team a bit of say, right? And you get that at the startup level as well, right? It might not be a CPO, but that's what I would expect a VP of product to be doing, right? You're able to have those conversations at a smaller stage in a startup or a head of product, for example. I think it's quite common in terms of some of the problems with day-to-day that product managers have around the world. I think we all build software for the most part, right? So the challenges of understanding humans using software, right? The challenges of working with other people to build that. Yeah, language and kind of cultural differences will always be there, but the fact that we're all building something on the same kind of technologies, you know, those challenges always come up, and those are the problems that we all scratch our heads day to day, right? And those are the things that we come to these kind of events to discuss, right?
Right. Okay, Mike, you're back. Do you have some?
Yeah, I'm back. I hear discussion. I think it will be some problems with internet in the house. Yeah. Well, what I want to discuss as one of the last topics of our today discussion is about today a lot of junior product managers are watching us right now. So maybe you can say some words, can say some recommendations, some wishes for the young product managers, for the junior product managers, for some guys who only want to start in these professions, or like maybe a few months in this profession. Yeah, can you give some recommendation? Yeah, for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw a few out there. Well, one is be as curious as possible and just try to like soak up as many different things. And certainly, as Irving was talking about, data is always really critical. And I think, you know, being in the product space now, you really got to understand data. You don't have to be a data scientist, as I'll say, but you need to be comfortable to have those discussions, both from from all different levels, whether it's with your customers, your end customers, whether it's with your executives, whether it's with your different teams that you're working with, UX, engineering, et cetera. So being comfortable with data and being comfortable with your communicating in those different capacities are probably the two skills that I would encourage people to figure out whichever they're lacking. If they're lacking both, then you should try to elevate your game in both. But those would be the two most important skills, I think.
Yeah, definitely would agree with that. I would say read everything. Watch as many YouTube videos. Watch these events. Soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can. It'll help you once you actually start, getting stuck into actually doing the job. There's no question that experience definitely will trump it, but it'll help you get that experience having that knowledge. It's helped me immensely. I never liked reading that much. When I decided I didn't want to be a developer before anymore, and I wanted to move into product, I just read as many books as possible over a period of like 2-3 years. I've read everything on product, read everything I could on UX. And I already had the development side of things. If you're not coming from a development background, take an online course on coding, right? You need to be able to understand. You don't need to be able to know how to code properly. I'm not the best coder in the world, but I actually can have a good conversation with engineers on APIs, or you need to be able to understand what they're saying, right? To make those decisions. So yeah, it's just kind of knowing, kind of understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are, and making sure that you learn the skills that you're lacking, right? So learning important.
Yeah, nice suggestion. Thank you. So I think we have discussed a lot of things today on our panel discussion. So I want to say a lot of thanks to Irving, to Dave. It was really cool, and it's really nice to see guys as an organization of other product camps. Yeah, it's really cool to share some ideas, to share other things, and I think we can we can share other things. Yeah, and it's really cool. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your participations. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting us. Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, thank you. And I just put my LinkedIn there too. If anyone does want to reach out, I'm happy to connect online and, maybe grab a virtual coffee.
Cool.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
Okay. So have a good day. Have a good evening. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.